recording. There we go. Sorry about that. And then in fall 2017, Eric was able to get 29 of 30 authors to be published, and they were all college students like us. And the importance of an editor is they're going to be giving you ongoing feedback. And basically, you're going to have someone there for you the whole entire time throughout your journey, constantly watching you. Your editor has done this before, and certain people are going to be writing different genres. So I know Erica, who's not on right now, but she's writing poetry, and I think Michaela, you might be writing poetry. So I'm going to tell the editors once we get the money in, like, oh, these two people are doing poetry. They're going to make sure they have an editor that fits your topic perfectly. So after this meeting, like, you guys should totally email me or chat me so I can know what kind of book you want to write so we can match you with the perfect editor. And once you start actually getting into the writing, which is not for a few weeks for you guys, that's when you'll meet your editor. And of course, after the money's already in. Typically, we'll spend 12 to 20 hours working with you. And okay, move on. Okay, so since we already have a small group to begin with, this was supposed to be like a little brainstorming session for us to talk about our working title. So if we all want to talk about our topics and if you guys want to like work through it. So mine's Makeupreneur, how to be a real self-starter. I don't really know if I want to keep that, but Eric just gave me the idea because I'm writing about how to be a entrepreneur in the beauty industry. So far that like sounds good to me. And that's been the last thing I've been really thinking about, to be honest, is my title. But it's going to change a lot, I'm sure, for most of you. But so most of you kind of already have a working title, I would say, basically.
No.
Besides you. Okay. And you don't really know your topic either, though, right?
Mm-mm.
So that makes sense. Do you have an idea of what you would like to write about? Because you could really do anything.
Nope.
Well, he'll help. And like, have you ever filled out the form about Eric would like ask you certain questions like, oh, what's like your hobby? What's your dream career? You ever fill that?
I haven't submitted it yet, but I did fill it out.
Okay. That's kind of how he helped me get my topic going. I didn't know either.
Okay.
I wanted to write a book like a long time ago, but I didn't know about what. And then I wasn't sure if I wanted to do this, but like now that I've started the process, I'm actually like really excited about it. I'm like, oh, damn, I could actually do this.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
Is the $150 fee, is that the fee for the editor?
Yes, that goes directly to the editor.
Okay, and then what are the other costs involved?
I was actually just looking into that yesterday, but I'm going to double check, but I'm pretty sure the other costs are going to be for the publishing itself and the marketing involved with it. And I saw something about I don't know the exact price, but he encourages us to like reach out to family and friends and kind of like post it and like get kind of donors for our book to like help us on the journey. But I'll double check with that for sure. And Eric's going to be on the phone call sometime, I think. So he can definitely answer that for you as well.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to move forward. So kind of did that. So last week I kind of brought up friendlies, which was people you already know that you want to interview. So if for the new people on here, you probably haven't done this yet, but that's something you should definitely try to do. Get interviews with people that are your friends or your classmates or your boss that would fit in your book, or even if it doesn't fit perfectly, you just want to start interviewing people in the process. So for example, I have a good friend that I grew up with who's a lash artist and a makeup artist, and she started up her own business. So she's not exactly who I want to talk to, but it's like pretty spot on, and she's my friend, so she's an easy target. And I'm going to be reaching out to like friends of friends, like, oh, if they know a makeup artist or someone who's always wanted to work in the makeup industry. Those are kind of like friendlies. So for you guys, it would depend on your book, what would match with you. But like, for example, Rebecca, you could even interview one of your advertising professors. Like that would probably be a great person to a friendly person to interview.
Yeah, I actually have one planned for Friday with one of my
really?
professors. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so like definitely reach out to like the UVI community first and try to get those done, but then we're going to move on to people outside of your network too. So while you guys are, we might have time to actually, hold on one second. Okay. So if you guys already scheduled interviews like you did, Rebecca, I'll send you videos that will help you lead those interviews, basically, like what to ask and how to get the right information for your book. I could send you a video on that, and I'll send it to all of you guys as well once you start scheduling. Okay. And since last week was supposed to focus on the friendlies already, if not, you guys could still do that in the process. Like, I haven't interviewed my friendly yet either, but that's just something you're going to want to add into your book. Okay. Is this screen blocking? Do you see this? This is like in the way. Okay. And so who should be in your book? There's 3 types: famous people, whatever that applies to your book, notable people in famous organizations, and people who offer good knowledge and stories but aren't necessarily notable. And so far I've had a mix of all of it. I've had a famous person actually reach out to me. I guess you would call her famous. She's a former supermodel who started her own makeup company, and she reached out to me and helped me with that. So I guess you could say she's famous. And then notable people in famous organizations. I actually talked to on Monday the beauty consultant. You guys know JWell from Jersey Shore. Well, she has a skincare line that she just launched, and I actually talked to the lady who helped her create it, which is kind of random.
That's cool.
I know. I was like, oh, so like you worked with, she's like, yeah, I worked with Jenny Farley. And I'm like, okay, I didn't want to get too deep and like be annoying, but she was awesome actually. And then people who offer good knowledge and stories. So I would say that could be my friend who started her own company, I would say. A lot of this book is going to be huge chunks of interviews, and if you have things that happened in your life that fit, that works as well. But really, he's trying to stress that we're not experts in this. So if I want to write about being an entrepreneur, I don't have a makeup company. How would I know? So that's what makes our books credible, by taking sources. Exactly what I said. And this is on Quip, where you're going to keep track of your interview targets. Mine's definitely sloppy, but it's just a good way to keep track of it. Okay, we went over this already. A lot of my people that I reached out to were on LinkedIn, and there's this thing on your computer that you could look up. It's called hunter.com. This is kind of weird, but you could literally search up any organization you want that matches your book, and then you find like the CEO's email, or like the marketing director. Just by using this website, they find like top people in those organizations for you. So that's been a tool. It's pretty awesome. But it might be weird to be like, when they ask, how did you get my email? Found it through this website. But so, and then TED Talks are good, in like YouTubers, for example, Huda Katan. If you guys ever heard of her, she's her own makeup line in Dubai, and she tells her like story through YouTube, and I'm going to take from that and put that in my book. Okay. So 5-minute favors. My first week of this program, Eric had us go literally like comment on people, like famous people's like Twitter accounts, their books, and just literally say like, oh my God, I'm such a huge fan. I love your work. Here, let's see. There's a video I'll show you to put it in better words. Hold on. Sorry, I'm a mess, guys. That's my resume. I'm going to play this for you guys so you guys understand what I mean by 5-minute favors.
So I want you to look around the room for a minute and try to find the most paranoid person here. And then I want you to point at that person for me. Okay, don't actually do it. But as an organizational psychologist, I spend a lot of time in workplaces, and I find paranoia everywhere. Paranoia is caused by people that I call takers. Takers are self-serving in their interactions. It's all about what can you do for me? The opposite is a giver. It's somebody who approaches most interactions by asking, what can I do for you? And I wanted to give you a chance to think about your own style. We all have moments of giving and taking. Your style is just how you treat most of the people most of the time, your default. So I have a short test that you can take to figure out if you're more of a giver or a taker, and you can take it right now. This is the only thing I will say today that has no data behind it, but I am convinced the longer it takes you to laugh at this cartoon, the more worried we should be that you're a taker. Of course, not all takers are narcissists. Some are just givers who got burned one too many times. And then there's another kind of taker that we won't be addressing today, and that's called a psychopath. I was curious, though, about how common these extremes are, and so I surveyed over 30,000 people across industries around the world's cultures. And I found that most people are right in the middle between giving and taking. They choose this third style called matching. If you're a matcher, you try to keep an even balance of give and take, quid pro quo. I'll do something for you if you do something for me. And that seems like a safe way to live your life. But is it the most effective and productive way to live your life? The answer to that question is a very definitive maybe. Now, I studied dozens of organizations, thousands of people. I had engineers measuring their productivity. I looked at medical students' grades, even salespeople's revenue. And unexpectedly, the worst performers in each of these jobs were the givers. The engineers who got the least work done were the ones who did more favors than they got back. They were so busy doing other people's jobs, they literally ran out of time and energy to get their own.
Hey, Eric, do you want me to pause this or?
Yeah, sure. I think you can pause it. I can just talk through it now. That's perfect.
Okay, cool.
That's even better. How's everybody? Let me see if I get my video going here.
Good.
How you guys all doing? Staying warm?
No, I'm not leaving
Trying
this
to.
call.
God,
You can't be out for like 4 minutes.
You know, it's painful. Everyone's like doing the whole hot water challenge thing these days.
Yeah, I
right?
saw that.
So crazy. Well, cool. Well, good to see y'all. Kind of exciting to be running after this stuff with everyone. And so, Marissa, I guess you guys have been doing this stuff here. So my thought is, I was going to talk, if you guys wanted me to talk today a little bit about interviewing, and I think you guys are just getting started on it, but why don't I sort of dive in a little bit here and tell you a bit about one of the biggest questions that we get, which I get, which is like, all right, Eric, like, number one, tell me why we're doing this interviewing stuff. And number two, like, tell me how to do it actually, like in that way. So, so let me like share my screen a little bit here and I'll walk through a couple pieces for you guys. So one of the biggest things that like I've learned in this process that's really, really important, I guess you guys can see my slides, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Is just the importance of doing this upfront kind of work, interviewing and research and stuff like that. And so, so last week we talked a little bit about doing friendlies and this idea here about getting people you already know, whether they're perfect for your book or not is kind of irrelevant, but finding people who are family, extended family, friends, coworkers, professors, classmates, like there's some people that are just going to say yes to talk to you about your book, even just because they like you, right? So find some of those. And again, most people I recommend really try and find 2 to 4 of them because they're going to be really helpful just to have early conversations. And I think, Marissa will post some things about how to do interviews and stuff like that as well. For everyone, we'll do some more talking about that in the next couple weeks on that front. But the second thing that I think, is the bigger one, get these people in your book. Who do you need to have and that sort of stuff. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the core thing that when you see people in these books, and again, this is sort of like, who do you want in your book? It's really, you're going to typically have 3 types of people. One is someone who's sort of famous. Now, the reason that you want them in your book is for a bunch of reasons, right? I'm sure they can give you and your book credibility. So what I mean by that is by having, stories from, if you're able to get an interview with Tom Brady, like high five to you, number one. But if you do that, like you can say, I spoke to Tom Brady for this book. You can also, even if you research Tom Brady, you can say, I studied Tom Brady for this book, or is inspired by some of the things from Tom Brady. That will help you, again, establish credibility. The reason, and so I guess one of the reasons I will say this really quickly before I go on, there is, just to be clear with you guys, there is a bias against all of you as sort of younger authors, no matter how old you are, how much experience you have. Well, it turns out that there just is a bias, and so we got to just play into that and sort of work around it. And so the core thing that we want you to do with this first phase of things is really twofold. Number one, we want to use this process of like researching and engineer this process to basically like figure out what we need your book to look like to make you look good when we put it out here 9 months from now. So what that means is we need to make sure to think about credibility for you. How that's a this is designed to do is the interviewing, whether it's again fiction and you can say I spoke to these people and was inspired by that, and that's what this book is based on, or this features insights and background research from blank and blank. All these things are designed again to make sure that when you put the book out, it has the goal for you. You want it to be good for you, and so that's kind of what we try and do. So the ways that we do that again is sort of making sure we have the right sorts of people in it. And that's, I think, what's important. So we talked about this first group of the sort of famous people, and being able to use those names will give you both content and credibility. The second type of people are those that are not necessarily like famous people, but they're people that come from organizations that will help give you credibility, right? So I'll pick on Marissa here for a second, right? Being able to say that she's talking to someone who's an executive at Sephora for her book will matter, right? That's something that like she can use to do it. So having people that they themselves are not, famous, but their organizations are relevant to you is great. Like a manager at IBM, a trainer for the Yankees, legislative aide for the White House. So what you can say is like, and I spoke to a White House staffer for this book, or I researched dozens of White House employees for this book. That's, again, how organizations will lend you credibility when you put your book out there. And lastly is people that not necessarily going to like give you credibility, but will give you depth. And so people who are, can give you stories are valuable. What they're going to do is provide you more depth. So to be able to say things like, this book includes dozens of interviews, or this book was inspired, or there's a woman named Sierra who's doing a poetry book. She's like, the poems in here were inspired by conversations with over 36 women, right? So that helps her be able to, again, have depth behind it. So that's part of the reason why we do it. Now, again, the goal is for each of you to have a mixture, and that's sort of what we're going to be doing is setting the stage to have these play out over time. You're not going to get all of these interviews in the first, tomorrow, but my real goal is to make sure, because of you're a younger author, we want to make sure that we showcase the credibility of your book. So that's why, number one, we want to make sure we've got like interviews and research with those people that is going to give you the credibility. And the second thing is the quality of the work. Now, the quality of the work seems obvious. Making sure you have people that kind of you can point to and showcase why this book is credible is the second part of it. So what that means is, again, I think, as you're going out there, keep building this list process. And, the list is going to be something that you continue to evolve as you add more people and as you grow more. And most authors have a list of, 50, 60 people by the time this goes on, but find people at these organizations that matter to you. If there's someone that the organization that can help you, great. LinkedIn is a great tool for that one. If you're looking for startups, AngelList is really good. The other one that I tell people a lot of times is like literally go on YouTube and search for people who've given interviews talks that are inspiring to you, right? Like these people are way more accessible than you may imagine, but find people who've like said things that you like. TED Talks, they're a lot more accessible there too. Find people who've written articles that you think are interesting, or they've written blog posts, or they've written a book. Those are really powerful too. And lastly, don't be afraid to kind of look for niche, smaller organizations that can be helpful to you. Those are all really powerful. Again, keep putting names on your list as you go. And what I will tell you is just the process of kind of like building this list, making it about people, will help deepen your knowledge. So the big question that everyone asks me is like, all right, how in the world am I supposed to be able to like interview these people, right? Like this is like the challenging part. And so I'm going to tell you about this concept called the 5-minute favor. And I think Marissa was playing the video. And so I'll tell you a little bit about how this worked. Because when I first started this thing, I was like, oh yeah, everyone should be able to just get interviews, right? And like they'll reach out as students. And people sort of don't care that you're a student, right? They'll be nicer to you, but they're not going to like do an interview with you just because you're a student. So we had to figure out a better way. And so this guy, Adam Grant, who you listened to his TED Talk, was really helpful in this process. And he did some research on this thing called research into the power of generosity, as you heard in his talk. He basically laid out that the world is made up of 3 types of people. We're sort of naturally predisposed in our generosity. About 25% of people are what's called givers. And these are people who are just naturally generous. So the nice part is if you happen to reach out to someone who's a giver, 25% of the time, they're going to be in your favor to sort of do the interview, right? They're going to be at least predisposed to do it. On the other extreme, you have takers. And takers are people who are not out to help you. They're about themselves. And so if you get a taker, which are about 25% of the population, good luck. They're most likely not to help you. Now, the vast majority of people fit in the middle. They are people who are what's called matchers. And now matchers are basically people that believe in kind of fairness. They're like, quid pro quo, eye for an eye. So if I reach out to, if I reach out to Rebecca, and Rebecca happens to be a matcher, the problem is if I reach out asking for a favor, interview for my book, she's going to assume that I'm a taker. And matchers don't like working with takers because they think there's a fairness there, not fairness there. So the challenge is that 50% of the population is matchers. So what does that mean? That basically means, generally speaking, if you reach out asking for a favor, only 1 in 4 people are going to be predisposed to help you. So here's what we did to sort of flip this upside down. Basically, you're going to figure out a way to be generous first in order to get more success on the interview. Here's how that will work. What we learned is that if you can do something very simple, this 5-minute favor for people first, it basically flips the switch on them because they now see you as someone who is a giver, someone who's generous, and they're more likely to play on it. It plays on this deep-seated power of reciprocity. We don't want to basically not pay people back when they do something for us. Here's the way it's going to work and what you guys are going to do tonight. It's really fun. I think Marissa's been doing it and seen the power of it. So find people on your lists that you want to connect with, whoever they are, and basically connect with them on social media, Twitter, Instagram, whatever platform you want to do. Then what you're going to do is you're going to do something nice for them and do it publicly. So you're going to, if you see an author out there, you're going to review their book and basically tell them how much you like their book, or their podcast, review their podcast, or if they have a cause they're raising money for, they support, share that if you're going to share their content, but you're going to tell them about it. Then what we're going to do next week is you're going to connect with them. You're going to reach out to them and basically say, hey, I really, I don't know if you saw that I basically, I loved your book. I left you a review, really a big fan of what it is, but don't make an ask yet. And the last thing you're going to do is you're going to make the ask. Now, this thing works like crazy. Like there was a guy who got Andre Iguodala to agree to an interview last week, a professional player. So like this sort of works. And so what you guys are going to do tonight is try it out. Now, what I want all of you to do is I want you to spend a quick minute thinking about who is one author and who's one podcast host that you would love to interview for your book that would help you in one way, whether it's inspiration or someone who's like you think would have great stories, whatever it is. But think of those people. And what you're going to do is you're going to then go through and try this. And here's how it works. So if you, for example, really want to interview Adam Grant and you love his podcast, what you could do is, or you think he has a podcast that's interesting, go out and on iTunes, leave him a review, and then go onto Twitter or on Instagram and basically say, Adam Grant, I loved your Work Life podcast episode with Malcolm Gladwell, was deserving of the 6-star review, but I only let me leave you 5, right? Something like that. Don't reuse this exact language, write it yourself, add a gift to it, make it fun, make it yours, right? Another example is if you like Brene Brown, I am inspired by your latest book to write more. I left longer praise for your book on Amazon, right? That simple act right there. Again, be authentic, like share things, use your own language, make it customized to you. But do this and you'll be surprised and shocked at who will basically connect with you. Now, here's the coolest thing. What you're going to be doing this week is literally just being nice all week. You're just going to go on social media and use social media for good. So you're just going to connect with people and do nice things for them. So try it out. And again, then we'll spend more time doing it. But find one author and one podcast host you'd love to interview, leave them a review, and then tell them about it. And again, don't make an ask yet. We'll do that later on. But it's really, really powerful, I think, as a way to connect with people. And so your goal this week is to do 20 of these. Be nice 20 times. And I know this is like the best homework you could ever get, which is like, just be nice, like 20 times. Like, I feel like I'm like a kindergarten teacher, right? Like in that way. But you'll be surprised at the power of it. It'll pay itself off over time by doing these sorts of things. So people are always blown away. This woman, Amanda, was like the leading astrophysicist she did this for in the country. And he got back to her and was like, yeah, I'd love to do an interview with you. Which she was like, oh, wow. Like he actually said yes. So use this as that tool in that way. And I think you'll find that like good things will start to come on that front. So that was sort of all that I had. Any questions for me on this front at all? All right. So 5-minute favors. Author, podcaster, and then spend more time doing more of them. And yeah, I'll see you all next week. We're going to do a really cool exercise next week, kind of a little competitive streak in you. So it'll be a bit of a way to continue this process going forward. I think Marissa did it before, and it definitely gets things sort of like progressing on the interview front. And yeah, I'll see you all next week. Stay warm, everyone.
Thank you.
You bet. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay, for some reason, my Zoom says we only have 8 minutes left. I don't know why, but let's try to finish this then. Okay, we'll move on. So basically, like you said, just target those people. Okay, actually, we are almost done with this. So review books, podcasts, apps, share or donate to the cause, share articles. I've been big on using Twitter and Instagram for mine. So keep trying to get those friendlies going. So we do have the author chat room on Quip. So wherever your guys' folder is, I'll go there. Let's see. Let's go to the folders. So as you guys have folders right here, we have a chat room. So you guys, if you ever have any questions or need help, just drop it there. And we also have Lynn and Brian and Eric who are big in this process. So they'll definitely help you. So don't hesitate to ask questions because they'll help a lot.
Does everyone have their own individual folder?
Yes, some of you I noticed didn't get to do that, but you just have to listen to the video we had last week and it tells you exactly how to do it.
Oh, maybe I missed
so
that
like
one.
for example, we're in the Get Smart phase right here. And this is where we drop our stories that we start writing, the people we want to do research on. And then here's where we set up interviews right here. So she wants to interview these people. Once she has it scheduled, she'll mark down all of the information. So definitely go back to that video,
Okay.
try to get things set up. That's where you do everything. So it'll definitely be helpful.
Okay.
My list is pretty big, but I haven't gotten to it all. It's good to have more than less, basically. And also, all of our folders are going to be open to the Illinois community. Like, there's a bunch of other schools that I have access to. Like, I could see a bunch of other people's, but we're going to help each other out by looking at each other's folders. And if you guys know someone that's going to help someone out, like say I look at Rebecca's folder and I actually know someone in advertising, I'll go ahead and tell her that to help her out because we're all trying to help each other succeed. So yeah, that's basically it for today. I'm sorry it was a little choppy and confusing, but if you guys have any questions, now would be a good time because we have 5 minutes left total for the Zoom meeting, but because I have to pay apparently if I don't. So do you guys have any questions?
So we can interviewing the friendlies thing, like with we can start that interview process.
Yes, and if you want, you could start interviewing like legit people and whatever thing you're writing about. But I'll send you like videos, like YouTube videos.
Okay, yeah.
So you're not going in blind because really, like, you don't have to ask like a list of questions like a normal interview. You kind of just have like topics or themes and kind of try to get stories from those people. So for me, it's a lot about people saying like how they started, like in their industry, like, oh, I didn't have any money, but I did this. Like, just their stories are really what you want to give you that credibility. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And Armani, if I were you, I would, since you're on Quip, you could message Eric if you're more curious about the money for the dues and the editor. If you have any concerns, Eric would know the most. Or Brian Bies, B-I-E-S. You could find them on Quip, and they'd be the most helpful in that. So.
Okay, and I can send them a direct message.
Yeah, you could send a private message to them. So.
Okay.
And Rebecca, I'm going to go ahead and send you another invite.
Okay.
So any other questions? If not, we'll just end it here early.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys. All right. Bye.